Hey everybody, how you doing today? We're here today having a little bit of fun with Mr. Capaldi. As you may know, some of you may know that he uploaded his 25 top Americans the other day. So here's basically my answer, and I'm going to be kind of putting up the top 25 Brits, kind of, as it were. So, wanted to say one other thing for my subscribers though. I am planning another evidence video very soon, within the next couple weeks. The only thing I'm trying to figure out is how I can get fresh blood for the experiment. So that's the toughest part. I can set up everything else. I can find the knife and a hammer and everything that I need to set up the experiment that I'm looking to do to show people what spatter would look like from these different objects and compare it to what's been found on the interior tailgate of the RAV4 and stuff. So that is coming. I'm just trying to, even if I have to get my own, I'm just trying to figure out how I would safely do that. If I can go somewhere and have some of my own blood extracted or something. So it's just a matter of figuring out, because I don't want the experiment to be like, discredited or whatever, because, oh, that's just corn syrup and whatever. Nope, it's going to be the real deal. So that's basically where I'm at. And unfortunately, I'm not Kathleen Zellner, and I don't have access to this type of stuff, or I'm not one of her experts who has easy access to this type of stuff. So it's a little bit more of a dilemma for me to figure out how to get my hands on it to produce this experiment. So that's where we're at. I'm also looking into ways of getting maybe some pig's blood as well, some fresh pig's blood possibly. So I'm looking at a few different avenues. It's coming though. I just want everybody to know that. So now we'll move on. So Mr. Capaldi did his little favorite, 25 Americans, or top 25 Americans according to him. So now we're gonna go ahead and poke a little fun at what I would say are the top 25 Brits, as an American sitting over here across the pond. So we're gonna have a little bit of fun with it, and just a little disclaimer. Some of these figures are fictional. But we're just having fun today. So, here we go. So, this is Nigel Farage. He's a member of, I believe, Parliament over there in Britain. He is great. He is a bold showman. Back when England was considering leaving the EU, he took out an ad on the side of a bus basically telling, people, so they would support it, that, leaving the EU would free up funds and monies to fund public programs and that sort of thing, things that the average people could get behind. And him and another politician went on TV and quoted President Bill Pullman from the movie Independence Day. And then when it came to it, when he was asked about, oh, well, what about the money that was supposed to go to those programs or whatever, he said, oh, we didn't really mean it like that, and just sidestepped it. And I believe it was John Oliver that said this guy was up in the running for the world's most desirably punchable face. So there's that accolade for him as well. Sir Walter Raleigh, the bringer of the potato to Ireland and ultimately England, and, well, the unfortunate soul who, after getting imprisoned by Elizabeth once, went out abroad, came back to England, and allowed himself to be in her clutches again, where he was ultimately imprisoned in the Tower and killed. But hey, potatoes. Everybody, this is Nan. Nan, we all have to love our just beloved racist grandparents, our racist, bigoted grandparents, right? We gotta love them. They're ours, and we can't help it that they grew up in a different world, a different time, where things were seen in a different way. But we all of our countries have those delightful, matriarchs in this case, or patriarchs, and but we still love them. Also, gotta say, I find Nan's absolute utter hatred for squirrels is absolutely hilarious, and the way she says squirrel. And then we have Captain Cook, a very, very brave and resourceful discoverer, and sailor, and all that stuff. But eventually couldn't avoid discovering the bottom of a tribesman's pot, where he was cooked up and devoured by the tribesmen. So, but up until that point, he was doing some really great work. Really brave soul. Another outstanding guy here from Britain, Mr. Simon Cowell. You know, judge on American Idol, and now I think on European Idol that he does over there now. But yeah, man, super nice guy. Nobody nicer than that guy. He is a super nice guy. Oh yes, and good old Gordon Ramsay. I love this guy. Oh, this guy, man, he cracks me up. He is the best. I watch his show Hell's Kitchen. I even used to watch The F Word on BBC. You know, find him very entertaining. I think he's a gem from Scotland there. Soccer hooligan turned master chef. So he's got that feather in his cap. So that's the Gordon Ramsay, folks. And then we got Keith Richards of the Rolling Stones, famous guitarist, rock and roll. You know, I'm always about the rock and roll. Love rock and roll. And you know, this guy, man, he takes a licking and he keeps on ticking. I mean, I swear he must be held together by duct tape, bubble gum, and super glue at this point. But he keeps going. He keeps on ticking. He was even did a cameo in the Pirates of the Caribbean movies with Johnny Depp. So anyway, so great rock musician, Keith Richards. And this is Bernard Black from a British television show called Black Books, which I found to be hilarious. Oh my lord, it was a funny show. You know, this guy's, you know, the character, Bernard Black, is just a very caring and sensitive individual. Yeah, he made the show very entertaining. And good old Jeremy Clarkson, you know, the guy on Top Gear that you just loved to hate because he was such a jerk, right? Which was what made him great. Don't get me wrong, it's what made him great. But he didn't know how to rein that stuff in. He certainly had a problem with it because he ended up pretty much single-handedly killing Top Gear because of some of his backstage antics of acting kind of the way he does on camera with people there in the studio, and so he didn't know when to draw the line. But oh, Top Gear was a great show, and it was funny to watch him. And then we have the Sheriff of Nottingham, you know, who didn't take any crud from those ruffians, you know, Robin Hood and his gang of merry men, and stealing from the rich and trying to feed the poor and the masses and the children. You know, how dare those ruffians? I mean, they need to respect the law and order that the sheriff was instituting. You know, but so kudos to the Sheriff of Nottingham. He was doing stellar work over there in Sherwood Forest and around it. Ah, yes, the malevolent Bellatrix Lestrange, infamous from the Harry Potter movies. She's, you know, a good one. Absolute great character in those movies. And they got a pretty actress to play her, even though maybe Bellatrix probably shouldn't have been so pretty, but maybe not. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But she did nail it in acting wise. She did, you know, get the crazy and the very malevolent attitude of Bellatrix Lestrange. She nailed that. And this is from one of my favorite British television shows, Blackadder. This is, well, if you listen to Brian Blessed, who plays Richard III, plays Richard IV in this segment of Blackadder, he calls him Edna Blackadder, but his name is really Edmund Blackadder. And Edmund Blackadder is a very interesting person in history. Fancies himself to be the king, or at least has ambitions to be the king, and it's always quite funny. Then, of course, we have the dreaded Voldemort, who killed innocent people to create Horcruxes to try to make himself immortal. Bad guy, but, you know, he was powerful, and he's remembered. He certainly has left his mark in literary circles, you know, thanks to the fame of Harry Potter, of course. And again, this is Blackadder. This is the descendant of the original Blackadder, Edna, who I referred to earlier. This is the Blackadder, who is a contemporary of Elizabeth the First. Britain's golden age. So it's set in that time period. This is, so he's a descendant of the original. And, Blackadder is a very, very great person in Britain. And for those of you who didn't know, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan. And we are looking at a few different incarnations of the Master. The Master is an absolutely awesome villain from British television, from particularly Doctor Who. He is always the Doctor's nemesis in Doctor Who. Not always, but he's a definitely often reoccurring nemesis for the Doctor. And he is truly a very great character, a very great villain, and of course he is a creation of the Brits. So, a very great villain though. And here we have another descendant of the Blackadder clan, and this particular descendant is the housekeeper, basically, for Prince George, who would be George III, who is the king, the British king that lost the colonies, the American colonies. So anyways, but he's, all the Blackadders are great fellows. And so that brings us to King George III. Bravo, sir! Bravo! You shall be remembered. You shall be remembered as the king that lost the American colonies. So we thank you for that. You are certainly among one of the great Brits in the eyes of us Americans, to be sure. Oh, and here we have yet another descendant of Blackadder. This one serving as a officer in the British Army in World War I. And, what you actually see him doing there is putting 2 pencils in his nose, putting his underpants on his head, and saying "Wibble," because he's trying to get sent home because he doesn't want to fight. So that just happens to be what he's doing right there. But great fellow, awesome guy. Oh, and we can't leave out the name of another great Brit whose name and legacy will echo throughout history, Mr. Jack the Ripper. He did some pretty interesting things. Ah, yes, and then we have the beloved Queen Mary, affectionately referred to as Bloody Mary because of all of the poor Protestant and free-thinking people that she killed and burned and basically kind of slaughtered wholesale. But hey, she didn't take no guff. It was Catholicism or the highway. So that's the way it went. And coming in at number 5, yet another descendant of Blackadder. And this is Edmund Blackadder, who used a time machine to manipulate the past to become the king of the Brits. And so he eventually became the king of the Brits, and he has that accolade to attest to his ingenuity. Oh yes, here we have another great Brit, folks. Well, actually, he's French. He came from France and he conquered England and crowned himself king. This is William II of Normandy, who came over and took the English crown. So he has that accolade. I mean, he came over and took what he wanted, and he became the king of England. That's quite a feather in his cap. So a very great figure from English history here, folks. And here we have Oliver Cromwell, who overthrew the monarchy with the help of the Parliamentary Army. And then, after killing the king, he basically was put in the place of being Lord Protector, which was essentially the king. But there was basically prohibition and everything. And so when he died, people weren't exactly sad that he died. They actually gathered in pubs and stuff finally where they could have a beer and said things like, "At least now we can toast our monarch in peace over a pint." But he was able to rise from humble beginnings all the way to the point of being basically king. In every way except name. Okay, so we had William of Normandy at number 4. We had Oliver Cromwell, who became Lord Protector at number 3. And now here at number 2, we have Captain Crunch. And don't you tell me he's not English. You look at that sailing suit. He is English. And the reason why he's in this is because I freaking love Captain Crunch. Oh my God, Captain Crunch is the best. Anyways, so That's why the captain makes this countdown. Those of you who want to dispute whether or not he's English, let's have at it. We'll have at it in the comments. So, there we go. For those who love their Captain Crunch as much as I do, here you go. And number 1 is going out to all the British tourists in the world. They are a very colorful bunch, folks. You got to give it up for them. They like to show up and represent their home country and their patriotism. And, I mean, hey, it wouldn't surprise me one bit to find out that this girl is that bold that she's actually walking around on a beach in Dubai like that. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me one bit. You got some very bold characters out there traveling the world, such as this one here. Got that alcohol ready, always ready. Like I said again, always fabulous dressers, always dressing the part. You know, these British tourists and stuff like that. They're just always looking sharp and aware. And always just looking like they're always on top of it. So, hey, let's give it up for the British tourists of the world. So, that's going to about wrap it up today, folks. Just having a little bit of fun with Mr. Capaldi, of course. And, as always, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe, and we'll see you.